Welcome to Star Citizen Alpha 3.11.1 and the ship guide. Today we are taking a look at the newcomer in Star Citizen, the Nomad of Consolidated Outland, which has aroused quite some interest as a premium starter ship. And as in every ship guide, we first take a look at the exterior, then we move on to the interior, look at the combat capabilities, then we move on to the usability, what the ship can be used for and what we can currently do with it. And first of all, a small special feature, because the Nomad is the first ship that has a so-called pickup function. That means you can charge something in the free space in the back. It is of course predestinated for rock mining, so this will be an extra part of this test. At the end, as usual, the atmosphere flight characteristics, my conclusion if I would recommend the ship to you and for what purpose it can be used and where it is currently available. But let's start with the first part of the test, with the exterior and the technical data. The Nomad is classified as a ship of size small and has the role of a light freighter. It is specified with 24 SCU cargo capacity and has a length of 26.5 meters and width of 80.3 meters and a height of 9.2 meters, but this is also due to the hover ability of the Nomad. And here we have a special feature of the Nomad, namely the landing gear does not sit on the ground, but floats like in various alien ships. The Nomad is from Consolidated Outland, a human manufacturer, but various design and technology impacts of alien spaceships are not to be dismissed, at least not by hand. The maximum speed is 1170 meters per second and the combat speed, that means the recommended combat speed, is at 180 meters per second in a good average. In the standard configuration, almost all components from the civilian variants are equipped and therefore not very powerful. A corresponding loadout, which we already see here in the armament and the components, I'll link you in the description, and we will go into this in detail later. Basically, the Nomad has components of the size small, but here in the area of the shields, 3 pieces. That means 3 size small shields, which we know from much more powerful battleships like a Saber. And already with the standard armament, 3 times size 2 gimbaled weapons, or as we have installed 3 times size 3 fixed. The Nomad is extremely powerful for a starter ship. As another small feature, we have a tractor beam in the stern, which means that in later versions of the game we can capture objects with the tractor beam and pull them into our hold. And for those of you who didn't think of the Drake Cutlass series when looking at these technical specifications and capabilities, for me the Nomad is definitely a smaller version of the Cuddy Black. The equipment is similar and the armament is close to the Cutlass Black. We also have a cargo hold and many possibilities to use the ship. So, a jack of all trades? Or maybe not? We will definitely take a closer look at it in this test. The design of the Nomad reminds you of a Tesla space truck in space. A space truck in space? Yeah. And you either like the design or you find it absolutely awful. The longer I saw it, the more I appreciate the design and came to the conclusion that I like the Nomad in any case. Another special feature is located in the stern of the ship, namely the mobile elevator, or better the pickup loading space. Here we can load vehicles or cargo and can then move them up again by operating the elevator. This is also where the whole loading ramp retracts and extends again. Here we have the possibility to load vehicles very easily. But first of all, there are few things you have to pay attention to in order not to endanger your Nomad or vehicles in it. But let's go to the interior. Right next to the doors we find 2 weapon compartments, which can easily be overlooked. Here we can deposit 2 single weapons. After arriving in the interior via the ladder, we have some accesses. To the left we find a charging room. Here we go directly into the cockpit and the living area. Here to the toilet and the sink. And here we have access to the components. The last part is not a passage to the cargo room, but unfortunately only a small window. That means here we have, in my opinion, already a small disadvantage of the Nomad. We can't get to our cargo or packet vehicle from the interior. Here we have to get out and walk around outside, lower the loading ramp, and only then have access to the vehicle or the cargo. However, we can also operate the loading ramp from the inside and activate it before we get out. So we save a few seconds when we want to get to our vehicles. This way we can send the elevator in advance and only then get out. By the way, we don't have to climb down when we get out. One jump is enough. The design of the interior as well as the exterior is very angular and direct, but makes a high quality and solid impression. You definitely don't get the feeling that costs have been cut. The small details live up to the name Nomad, so we have everything we need to feel at home right away. Houseplants, books, and even protein powder are included. You never know when you'll be able to start the next workout. We also have a complete kitchen with oven and microwave, storage for food, and can survive longer without outposts or stopovers on a planet. And here again, the material appearance is very high quality. The pilot seat itself is made of sealed leather with ornament seams and definitely an eye-catcher. The cockpit is modern and complete with digital displays and several integrated MFDs. We have a very good overview here, which is also due to the many glass elements, whereby the cockpit protrudes slightly from the ship and it's therefore exposed. Also in this area, the Nomad does not afford any weaknesses, but we will look at this good overview in the next part of the test. Namely, the combat capabilities. And here we are again at the comparison to the Cutlass Black. The Cutlass Black has 4 Scythe 3 hardpoints and the Cutty is a ship of the middle category. The Nomad as a premium starter ship as Scythe Small had 3 weapons also with Scythe 3, which is really very powerful for a ship in this class. In addition, all weapons are gimbal to the Nomad, which means that especially beginners can easily get good hits. Especially in the PvE area, we don't have any problems here. And even bigger ships like a Cutlass or Freelancer are no problem for the Nomad, even if there are several of them. We use a completely fixed loadout, which means that the weapons are without gimbal function and are even more powerful. We have laser repeaters from Hurston Dynamics in the upper 2 guns and a sucker punch distortion weapon in the lower one. These weapons switch off the enemy's shields very quickly, and with the laser repeaters we have relatively high penetration power even at distance. In addition to our classic armament, we also have rockets on board. 8 size 2 rockets then can deliver an extra punch, especially if we have already melted down the enemy shields with our main armaments. The loadout used by us here can be found as always as a link in the description. And if you are looking for a loadout for another ship, you can find it in our Discord. For almost all ships there are loadouts, which are updated regularly. I don't have to hide the Nomad from smaller targets. Her agility and maneuverability is sufficient to avoid buccaneers or other light and fast hunters, and to take them out. But also bigger targets, like you for example a Constellation series, are no problem with the Nomad. Here we have the advantage that we are fast, agile, and we have an armament that can distribute strongly. And here we speak for the category of starter ships up to about $80. As an alternative, we have here for example a Titan Avenger or Arrow, which also have good armament but do not come close to the firepower of the Nomad or other special functions. The Nomad doesn't lack defensive abilities either. We have 3 size 1 shields, and if we combine them with military shields or even an industrial shield, we have a very good defensive endurance, even against multiple targets. But let's go to another advantage, our weapons of the Nomad. They are centered in the middle, which means we don't have the danger that in case of damage or risky maneuvers or small collisions with an asteroid, a wing would be torn off and we would lose guns here. Because they are all centered, with a turret that is straightforward in the upper part and the additional gun in the lower part. This is definitely an advantage even when we fight against players or against several opponents. We never have the problem of losing fighting power even in long battles. And since we have only found positive aspects so far, I can only give the Nomad a very good report card in the area of fighting skills. As I said, there is currently nothing comparable in this category. More we get only from the Cutlass or Freelancer, which are also much more expensive. However, the Nomad is not a fighting ship, but a light freighter. So let's see what we can do with this feature. The 24 SU cargo capacity is exactly the space we can use either for a ROC or another ground vehicle, or then for cargo trade. Trading works without any problems. That means our cargo space is available just like any other merchant ship, and we can load and sell it via the terminal. However, we seeded cargo during the flight due to its pickup mechanics. However, we have not observed it falling down and the cargo sits bomb-proof. And since the whole thing is only suitable because a ROC fits exactly because of its size, we see if we can dismantle the ROC directly from the ship with a pilot from the ship. And here I have to say yes and no. As we see, if we don't drive the ramp down the pickup cage, our ROC reaches the stone with its lasers, but no energy arrives. The second alternative, we let the ramp down. That means that drives the pickup cage, and then we try if our ROC can reach the stone with his lasers and also break it down. And as we can see here, that doesn't work either, because we are inside the shields of our ship. That means the shields are damaged and the energy doesn't reach the stone. Even if we deactivate the shields manually, it doesn't work. So that we can remove the stones from the ship with the ROC here, we have to move forward a little bit so that the laser is outside the ship and above all the shields. Here we can reliably remove the stones, and the whole thing is also possible in hovering flight. But it is not possible to fly with the pickup cage down and the ROC. That means in the function we see here, we have no possibility to take off without losing or crashing the ROC. If you should try it anyway, you will simply fall out of the ship with the ROC. If you want to fly with the ship and the ROC, you have to drive a little bit onto the ramp. Then you can use the ROC. The advantage here is you don't have to park completely, but just can drive back a little bit and park. So the Nomad is definitely suitable for ROC mining. In addition, it is currently the cheapest ship that can transport a ROC without any problems. We also have the possibility to load up cargo, which is a clear advantage for the Nomad. Another important tip: deactivate your mining laser and make sure it is not pointing upwards, otherwise your ROC will be bugged in the Nomad and the whole thing can be over very quickly. Now we come to the last part of the test, namely the atmospheric flight characteristics of the Nomad. Here again we will use the comparisons to the Cutlass, because the Nomad flies like a smaller version of the Cuddy. It is agile and relatively easy to steer, but unlike the Cuddy, it has no VTOL thrusters, which means that it is easy to steer in forward motion. If we slow down, the Nomad is not as affected as with VTOL thrusters. Also in the atmospheric flight characteristics, I would give the Nomad a good grade. Since she's really good and fast at the controls, nothing unforeseen can happen to us. Also the speed is okay and the overview through the cockpit is a plus point. So let's have a look where we can get this premium starter ship currently. We currently get the Warband version of the ship for 80 bucks, for 29 the store credit version, and as a starter package the whole thing starts at 92 bucks or for $160 with Squadron 42. And here's to mention you currently get the Warband versions with lifetime insurance and for the versions with store credits with 10 years insurance. And since Nomad convinced us in every part of our test, we come to a conclusion. About the look you can certainly argue if you think the Nomad is beautiful or if you think it is an ugly dove. However, the features and capabilities of the Nomad are without a doubt impressive. For a ship in the starter segment, we have enormous firepower, which even with the support of rockets, we have 24 SEU cargo capacity, which is close to mid-range ships, and we have also the possibility to fly a special mission with a ROC or other vehicles. All the amenities like bed, a kitchen, weapon compartments, and all this packed into a ship that is easy to stir and has a good range. Additionally, there are some smaller bonuses like the mounting of the weapons directly in the middle, and 3 shields are built in. The whole thing for the price of an Arrow or a Titan Avenger is definitely an announcement in the starter segment, and therefore the Nomad is my recommendation for everyone who is looking for a starter ship, which he can also do something in the middle game area. Therefore the Nomad is the best starter ship for me. But I'm happy about your opinions and comments, and I will try to answer all of them. There is also a giveaway running a Tabarin War uniform in white and Cyberpunk 2077 for the PC from GOG for you. And if you're looking for a ship or an item, check out Star Hangar. Here you can buy cheap and safe. And the most important at the end, thank to all channel members and Patreons. Without you the whole thing wouldn't be possible in this form, and I want to thank you very much. You guys rock! I'll see you very soon, and as always, see you in the verse.